courtesy of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. Thank you for joining me on our show. If you're unfamiliar with it, we bring you all the Stadia news and weekly gaming information wrapped up in a lovely digital package, brought to you by myself, Chris, and one of my lovely co-hosts, the man to my left, your right, my left, the techie teacher himself, Mr. Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, but one day I've got to figure out these directions because I'm still not sure which side of my camera you're actually on.
I've gave up. That's why I say your left, my right, your right, my left.
Fair.
Because it could be both visually and just in person. Like you are to
That's
my...
true.
Yeah, cameras, man. Cameras are hard.
Yeah.
60 episodes in, we still haven't figured it out. And, but I do know for a hard fact that below you, that's a safe bet, below you is the man of many pixels, once again joining us this week. Richie, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. So am I directly below Tom? So
Yes.
you're up to either top, up and right, or up and left?
For our Australian viewers, that means he's above me.
Yeah.
It does. Ooh,
And upside down.
one day we'll have Australian listeners. If you are our one or two Australia listeners out there, because hopefully Stadia is going to be expanding into some more markets, and we're going to be talking about that today, because in this week's show we've got Stadia's birthday discussion. We're on the cusp of it. By the time this episode goes live, we are a mere 4 days away from Stadia's very first birthday. It's all grown up, everybody. It's all grown up. It's no longer. I mean, technically, it's still a baby, right? 1 year old. They're not going off to college or anything at one. They're probably not even walking yet, right?
Depends how good you are.
Yeah,
If you're a good parent, maybe.
I mean, even that's a bit of a push up at 1 year old. But in the world of technology, crazy things can happen. We'll also be talking about some acquisitions, some big moves happening in the world of games. There's been quite a few big acquisitions this year, but we'll be talking about all that. We'll be talking, as I mentioned just then, about the expansion of Stadia potentially, because their competition, xCloud, have definitely been doing some expansion into different markets, rolling out shortly. And free premiere editions for everyone. We'll definitely be covering off that and much, much more all on this week's show.
Everyone.
Not everyone. Yeah, we'll be covering that too. But before we get into all that, just a little bit of housekeeping for all you lovely people out there. Don't forget to like the video and give us a subscribe down below so you're kept in the loop with all the magical Stadia stuff that goes on here at Sounds of Stadia, because we have one hell of a week lined up. Not only is it Stadia's birthday, but we're going to be very active. There's hopefully going to be some big happy announcements that put a smile on everybody's face. In and amongst all of the launch of what is going to be the future of gaming, we had PlayStation 5 and Xbox launch in big parts of the world this last week. This week we have the PlayStation 5 dropping in the UK as well. And obviously Stadia, don't drop it yet. Do not drop it. And then Stadia is of course part of that next gen conversation, which we will be covering week in, week out. But keep subscribed so you don't forget that. Couple of touch points for this week. I've done it, everybody. I did it. Monster Boy and the Curse Kingdom is no more. It is finished. The finale, the final boss fight. 20 weeks, over 20 hours of me painstakingly working my way through that game.
I'm not even playing the game and I'm relieved.
Oh, the relief. Yeah, the relief. Thank you massively to everyone who stuck by and supported me through playing that, because in the comments and stuff, just like wrapping up and doing the final video editing, I put a little montage in of like all the previous weeks with the kind of the end credits music playing in the background, and it was quite emotional. And like, you know what the biggest joke about it all is? After I wrapped up and finished it, I kind of wanted to play more.
Hey!
Because I finished it because I wanted to go back again and stuff, but I will not be doing that because there is many more games to be playing. There is bigger games to be playing, which we're going to be talking about.
Is that definitive? That, because I know people have been asking you if you're going to do 100% playthrough. Is that definitive?
That is definitive. I'm not doing it. Again, it's not really entertaining anymore. Once there's no like level structure start, if it's me just randomly walking around a map, dying, trying to find stuff. There's limited enjoyment in there for all parties involved.
If people are watching it just to see you in pain, then they're probably getting a lot out of that.
Maybe on like a charity stream or something, we'll jump in for an hour and reminisce over my pain. But yeah, that was one thing that happened this week. We should also shout out to our Discord chat, everybody over in our Discord. We've seen that massively boom in the last couple of weeks, and there's some wonderful people in there. If you are interested in more Sounds of Stadia conversation or just general gamer conversation across the board, find the link in the description below, because it's popping off as it's at the moment. And I wanted to give a special shout out to one Jay Williams, who but bless your soul, sir, because this week you went out there on Twitter and tried to promote our Discord channel, and you tagged Stadia in the post as well as Sounds of Stadia, And much like many people out there, if you've not seen this on Twitter, there is a church planting company over in the United States called Stadia Church Planting. And Jay may have in fact tagged the wrong Stadia. And the best part about it all is they replied to him saying, "We agree with everything you say, Jay, about the positive conversation and community and all that. We agree with everything you're saying, but you may have tagged the wrong Stadia." And again,
oh, good man!
It's
Wow,
that's
that's
landscaping all over again.
It really is, but it keeps going because then he posted a GIF in reply to them saying for forgiveness, and then they actually replied earlier on today saying that's kind of our thing. So yeah, we forgive you for the incorrect tag. So yeah,
I read this in the doc, but I hadn't seen the Twitter feed, and I was wondering,
poetry in motion.
What on earth is this? Like Stadia Church Planting and Jay Williams. It's like, I don't know what this story is.
So shout out to Stadia Church Planting over there, the Christian Youth Society building churches for unprivileged children and stuff. So great cause, support you, but obviously
you guys are welcome too.
Yeah, of course, everyone's welcome in our Discord server to talk about all games and planting trees and such. But massive shout out to Jay for that bit of spreading the joy, spreading the love, and spreading the Discord chat. So you've got to love it. You love to see it. We also had some other bits and bobs going off this week. Tom, you had a first look at the one and only Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which we'll be diving to in the news. I probably want to put a pin in your first thoughts yet, but thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I wouldn't so much call it a first look though, more like a second look.
Oh, come on, tell us a bit about. We'll get into the game, but tell us about what happened.
Yeah, I did take to Twitter to talk about this, but I did spend a solid hour recording, only to find that I actually didn't hit the record button. So there's a nice audio file for anyone who wants to listen to it. That's an hour long of me literally just talking about my experience of playing the game for the first time. But it's not so much digestible because there is no video content to go along with it.
Maybe we should just throw it as like a joke piece of content for our patrons.
Maybe. It could be a bit of fun. It could be a bit of fun.
Also,
there are some sound bites in there that you could probably snip out and use again and again. But no, my second look went swimmingly, and I'm really enjoying the game so far. So definitely a thumbs up from me right there.
Ooh, yes.
Swimming in the ice cold waters of Norway.
Oh, we'll be talking about all that. We'll be talking about our first impressions of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, very much part of this show as well. A couple of final points of note then. I had a first look video myself, a comparison video in fact, with the Stadia Premier Edition controller compared with the DualShock 5. So as I say in the video, unfortunately in the UK, they've sent all the accessories and games out first. I'm currently the proud owner of one DualSense controller and a copy of Spider-Man Miles Morales, both of which I have no use for at this present moment in time because I don't have the console. So I guess I'll just have to play Stadia in the meantime, but go check that out. It's an interesting comparison. Again, controllers only can be compared so much, but is an ironic twist of fate to you, Tom. I managed to get 2 cameras up and running with my video alongside the audio.
That's fair.
But either way.
Channeling that camera energy.
Didn't you actually, I'm sure you mentioned that you managed to get your DualSense working with your PS3?
Yeah, talk about cross-generation. So the DualSense does not work with the PlayStation 4 because of some backwards compatibility thing. Even though, again, we talk about like ease of access. Like we can't fault Stadia for how you could plug practically anything in and use this thing. Compatibility controllers, Xbox, Switch, whatever it may be.
Especially tandem mode.
And tandem mode, it's phenomenal. PlayStation, the PS5 controller does not work with the 120 plus million consoles that exist out there, which is just ridiculous. It has all the same keys and buttons, bar the adaptive triggers and stuff. It's a joke. Like it's a £60 controller that should be backwards compatible.
The thing is, it's not like there's features missing. There's just they've iterated on the features they have. So
if I want to play a game, it's the same buttons and keys. 100%.
It's not like taking say a PS3 controller and playing at the PS4 where you're missing that touch bar.
Yeah.
So that has different functionality. You're missing the share button.
But that's the grand irony that I then went back another generation and played it on my PlayStation 3, and I had to go the original Crash Bandicoot, which is a PS1 game, backwards compatible, playing on PlayStation 3 with a PS5 controller. So I'm just jumping through every generation here.
You're just skipping every other generation.
Yeah, you just skip it. It's like bad traits from your parents and stuff. It just skips a generation, so you don't hand them down to your children. But lessons to be learned there. So
we're skipping the good generations, PS2 and PS4.
PS1 was good.
I mean,
yes, okay.
They're all good, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them. And Stadia certainly wouldn't exist without the trailblazers that are Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, PC, and all. And Sega. Let's go shout at Sega. All those people out there. But go check that out. And final point of call for today is we've got, as I mentioned, in and amongst all the fun, exciting stuff, with it being Stadia's birthday, gentlemen, you, the community, and all the amazing content creators out there are pulling together once again to bring you another Super Stadia Saturday/Sunday event this time around, because there's so many amazing people out there making Stadia content. If you've not checked them out, just go on Twitter and search for Stadia and you'll find people within a stone's throw. We're all getting together again to do a 36-hour global cross-continent stream with all of those wonderful people out there. It's going to be
there's
big.
multiple language streams as well.
There is indeed.
Yeah.
So if you speak multiple languages, there's something more out there for you. Although you could just mute it and watch the gameplay, I guess. Or you could try and learn a new language, do something new with your weekend.
I must admit, I'm not overly familiar with the content that our friends in the French and Spanish Stadia communities are making, because I don't understand the language. But
Donde estás, Richard?
Yeah.
I think that means where are you, Richard?
Yeah.
So we'll go with that one. Either way, yes.
Ricardo.
I should have said Ricardo. Yeah, 36 hours of content. We ourselves are on the 2 p.m. slot. That comes up on the Sunday, which is the 22nd, if I can find my mouse. I do actually have the promo ready to go there. So 36-hour Stadia event. We're going to be playing games. There's going to be podcasts. Straight after us, we've got Bill and Lloyd from Stadia Cast as well. I think our good friend Andy Morphs is before us as well. But like I said, it's a full 36-hour event. Head over to Super Stadia Saturday. His Twitter page, or Stadia Source, has the full schedule listed and rotated down in there. There's something for everybody. Jump in, say hello, join the community, share the love, share the links. But it's going to be a great day. We're super excited. And hopefully Stadia's birthday is going to give us some re-energized fun to showcase and share with the world. So keep tuned, keep it locked. We'll be talking about it. We'll be promoting it probably as we creep closer to next week. But yeah, 2 p.m. GMT time, Sunday the 22nd of September, you will see me.
And maybe, but no promises, but we might even bring back the Trials Rising with Dares.
With Dares? Can we do Dares if we're in separate houses?
I mean, we can make Richie draw on himself.
Yeah, I'd have to draw a penis on my own arm.
He has to draw it backwards as well with the camera problem, so to see how it looks across his forehead.
But like I say, no promises. No promises.
And we should also actually mention as well, we may have a surprise giveaway. So one of our amazing patrons has reached out to us, and we'll do a bigger shout out once we finalise some details there. But you do certainly want to be tuning in for games, fun, laughs, giveaways, and more importantly, Stadia celebration, because that's what the SSS events are all about. So it is Stadia Super Saturday, but we are on Stadia Super Sunday. So don't get that day wrong. Tune in. Sunday is arguably better. It's a lazy day. It's a day of rest, as the Stadia church planting people would say.
How do you your Yorkshire puddings, your roast beef, and watch us? That's what you're doing.
Remember your Sunday beef, Tom?
Richie and I were talking about this pre-show as well. Unfortunately, I've eaten today, so there's no beef from me.
Oh, no
I've got things I could discuss, but no.
All the beef has been eaten.
And before we do get into the meat and potatoes of the show, I guess, gentlemen, Richie, you need to wrap up on one retcon ritual from last week. We alluded to this in our discussion, and
it was in the post show. Actually, I couldn't remember which one it was. So I actually went back and watched our content, and it was in the post show.
You watched that content?
Yeah, I know. I do that occasionally. Actually, you actually watch out all of our content that I'm not on.
That seems fair.
It's weird to watch content when you're on it, because I'm there, I'm here. But we were talking about one of the opening things about Christmas, especially in the UK, is it kind of officially starts when the Coca-Cola truck's out. It's not happening this year, so Christmas is officially cancelled.
Oh, don't say that.
No Christmas.
No,
I'm sorry.
It
wasn't my decision. It's because of COVID. COVID cancelled Christmas.
It didn't. That sounds so negative saying that out loud, Richie. You know, it does not. Just because one television advert starring a big red truck does not pass through our town does not mean Christmas is cancelled. If anything, I know loads of people who are getting their decorations up early this year, and more power to you. More power to you.
We still have hope that the John Lewis advert will still come out fine.
We shall see. So yeah, it is a Christmas tradition. And
do you think we'll see a Stadia Christmas advert?
I mean, maybe.
It's not long ago they brought out a new ad, so I wouldn't.
Will we see a Black Friday deal this year? Because that's on the horizon as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point
about that last year.
So that's a throwback. So those who are fairly new to Stadia, all you lovely Premier Edition people who are stopping by for the show, this time last year, Stadia said there was going to be a Black Friday sales deals, and nothing happened. I think did we get some early deals in the week, and then Black Friday came and went, and then they had to come out and inform us that the Tuesday deals were actually the Black Friday deals. That was it.
Let's hope Stadia. Let's hope the Stadia community team do retcon the issues from last year this year.
Well, so far they haven't committed to it, so that's better than last year.
This is true.
Yeah, that is true. But everyone in the tech world does Black Friday. So Google themselves, I get hammered every year with emails from Google saying they've got deals on all of like their home and connected made by Google equipment every year. So it's usually a Pixel. They're always trying to push a Pixel on me with like £100 off or something. But like most people, I have mine on contract, so I ain't dropping 300, 400 quid on a brand new phone like that. I've got a console to buy.
I actually prefer buying phones like that because over the life of the phone, you actually save quite a bit of money because you can get just a SIM-only contract.
Yeah,
but it means dropping the money out. Right at the moment, I am on contract because I literally just couldn't afford it when my phone died. So
that is true. But without further delay, gentlemen, Christmas will be here shortly. But before it does get here, we need to go into Mr. Tom.
The super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
The special news segment this week, sponsored by Cork. No, it's not sponsored by them.
That would be awesome.
They would be
sponsored by Christmas.
Sponsored by Christmas. Bringing it back. If you know what, if Coca-Cola won't bring you Christmas, we damn well will do. I'm gonna try and get a tree up in here and some fancy lights, but we'll see on.
Yeah, I'm not getting a tree in this room. There's just literally nowhere but one.
You could just sit it on your lap. You could get like a mini Christmas tree.
He's also got a mirror dimension behind him, so there is that.
Yeah, the mirror dimension is quite small though.
Okay.
Surprisingly so. Maybe I'll get a little tree put on the windowsill where my 3DS and my Lord of the Rings collection is.
That would be nice. But like we said, news. It's that time of the week again. If you're unfamiliar with the show, we give you a rundown of all the weekly Stadia and gaming news. We try and pluck out the big, more important stories. So first things first, then Assassin's Creed Valhalla has launched on Stadia. I think this deservedly needs to be talked about because it's probably, arguably until Cyberpunk, the biggest game of the year to land on Stadia. I know we got Sekiro, and I know we're getting Fallen Order, but this is like a big AAA title that I would say is way bigger than Watch Dogs, The Crew, The Division, all the other titles we've got, because this is a franchise that's nearly spanned, 2 decades now, coming up on. It's one of my favourite personal ones of all time, and we've all played it. Richie, you bit the bullet. All your Twitter fans voted on a poll to say if you would save your money and wait for Uplay Plus, and you betrayed them all.
I apologised.
Don't trust this man. But in terms of the game, then let's go a quick roundhouse of how far we've played of the game so far, and just what are our quick first initial takes. So we'll go over to you, Tom, because at the end of the day, you did do 2 first looks at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so it would be a shame to start anywhere else. So we'll go over to what was your name? Tom Var Stadia son?
Tom Var Stadia son.
Let's hear it, Tom. So how much have you played, and what are your first impressions of the game?
First impressions, first of all, are I'm really enjoying it. I like the system. It definitely feels like there's more of as I've not quite approached a certain point yet, I'm feeling that it's a lot more combat focused rather than stealth focused. So to let you know, I've only played an hour of it. That was literally my first look because I'm so engrossed in Sekiro at the moment that it's just on the back burner, but I will definitely be putting more time into it. Really enjoying it so far. Can't wait to experience more.
Wonderful. Richie, I think you're the furthest of the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. How many hours?
So I probably, I don't really know because I was playing till quite late, about 3 in the morning. So I kind of lost track of time a bit. And a lot of the time I was kind of, I went mountaineering.
Of course.
So I probably lost about an hour and a half. I was just lost in the mountains of Norway. So yeah, if you're doing it, a little tip to anyone playing it, if you're doing a bit of exploration, just be careful. Sometimes there's big stretches of mountainous areas that are really, really tall, and there's nothing there.
What are your first thoughts on like the
beautiful vistas though? Beautiful vistas.
Yeah,
when you get to the top of this mountain, and you look over that bay that the Norway section is in. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've took so many screenshots already, especially when like the northern lights are in the sky and you get that lovely like bluey green aura, like kind of just like like bakes the entire like horizon in that like lush like iceberg type glisten. And it's absolutely stunning. Visually, again, I think the last several Assassin's Creed have always gone above and beyond, especially when it comes to like architecture and landscapes. I think character models maybe never the greatest compared to some other titles, but in terms of landscapes and buildings and stuff, they nail that stuff. Like if you think of all the cities they've visited over the years in these franchises, stunning. And I personally haven't left Norway yet. I've played 9 hours of the game and I've not left Norway because I'm just going on these wild adventures into the wilderness and seeing what comes up.
Norway isn't actually that big. I have left Norway, and I think if you just like mainline just the main quest, you get through in a couple of hours.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
But that's any Assassin's Creed game. There's lots of exploration, lots to do. You want to go see, collect all the things in the map, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so in terms of exploration, it has been tweaked ever so slightly since Odyssey, which is a lot of people's favourite Assassin's Creed game of all time. One of mine also. However, they have changed some things that aren't quite vibing with me just yet, and I don't know how I feel long-term wise. So I actually took notes just specifically about a couple of things that were a bugbear to me. The biggest one of all, what I loved doing in Odyssey, was flying up with your eagle, with your bird. Obviously, this time's been replaced with one of Odin's ravens. Not Odin specifically, but we've got a raven. Sinin, he's called. And when you send him up into the sky, you can't tag enemies from what it seems. And that was my approach to every base ever.
You can a bit. It's slightly different. You can actually
them, essentially.
Yeah. And I think you can get like free tags, but it doesn't like kind of highlight them. It just puts like a marker around them.
Yeah, and that's what I find frustrating, because my usual tact is there's a fortress or an encampment or something, send the bird up, tag, and then make my approach. Especially with them reintroducing the assassination feature so predominantly in this game. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm sneaking into a base, and if someone sees me on the left, I'm caught out and the whole base knows I'm there. And it's like, you've kind of took away a big element that I enjoyed in the game.
There's things I'm curious about without exploring the talent tree in any real depth yet. Is because there's some features like the Odin site where you press and hold in R3 and it kind of pings around you. That was an unlockable skill in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but now it's a default skill in Valhalla.
Yeah, true.
Maybe there's something similar with the Ravens where it went the other way around.
It's interesting because in Odyssey, I didn't really use that skill very much. I definitely preferred, like Chris, I used it to focusing with the eagle. With Icarus flying around and marking things. It's kind of interesting considering that the name that they've gone with for the Raven in this is actually like the meaning of the name is insight. You can't actually gain any insight from using the bird other than figuring out, oh, there's some wealth over there.
Yeah, I wonder if part of the design is to make it more, push you a bit more into either one of the trees, so rather than giving you this what is arguably slightly overpowered skill, it's like, no, this is now a talent that you have to unlock. Where the Odin site, the kind of ping system, I used all the time in Odyssey when you're cleaning up the base after you've killed everyone in it to make sure you loot everything, because it'd leave everything with dots.
There's many times with the Odin site being the right stick to push down. Have you? Probably not so much you, Tom or Richie. Have you kicked in photo mode? How many times?
Yeah.
Like, because it's the right stick to push in for the Odin site and it's left stick to sprint. Hit them both at the same time, that launches photo mode. So there's so many times I'm running around and it just goes, and everything just freezes immediately, and all these menus pop up and like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, photo mode's a way of cheating a bit. If you're in combat, you can just go into photo mode and just take your time, have a look around, see what's around.
It's like pausing the game between boss fights just to get your bearings and take a breath for a moment.
Maybe that's the insight right there.
It could be.
Assassin's Creed turn-based.
Yeah, and another big change this time round was the side missions and side quests. So you alluded to it a little bit there, Tom, with the wealth being off in the distance. So they've got rid of your typical Ubisoft like waypoint system where you've got a mission here, a mission there. Once you synchronize a waypoint, they kind of readily become available. They're 100 and something meters away. This time around, you kind of get a giant floodlight into the sky, like Batman's going to show up or something. And you get yellow for wealth, blue for a mystery, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then white for something else. I can't remember what that is. But essentially, they are your replacement for side missions. Don't know how I feel about that yet, because again, I love that Ubisoft mantra of, there it is, go explore. It's one of those games where it's just quite cathartic to just go through, run to the location, whereas having to explore a bit more, I don't know if I'm vibing with it just yet.
I kind of like having to explore a bit more, because I find sometimes if you're just following a compass from A to B, it makes the game a bit more saily. You're not exploring the environment as much. But what I would like is I've had like a few like smaller side quests where you talk to someone and they go, oh, he's an interesting thing. I'd like that it doesn't go to your quest log as like a side quest or anything. So it's relying on you remembering about that thing that you were told, and I don't really like that. I didn't like the quest log in Odyssey where basically it had all these pre-generated, randomly generated quests that just did nothing and would just clutter. But if there's actually, you talk to someone and go, oh, there's like an ancient elk nearby in this sort of region, just put that dialogue into my quest log so I can go, oh, there's some tidbits.
Yeah. There's an interesting part with the new mission structure for the mysteries you find, Tom, and you'll find this. If you are doing, like I quite often do listen to podcasts or multitask a little bit when I play these wide open games because there's so much to do. There's no longer that mission structure for if you were to come and approach me and I'll tell you a story and I say, oh hi, my name's Chris, I need you to go collect 10 of these things for me to bring back for my children or something like that. If you weren't paying attention to that dialogue, there is no menu quest list in your menu. So I've done that 2 or 3 times now, and then I've gone and walked around and thought, like, what am I doing again? What did I miss? Because I missed a key sentence in his speech. And you go to the menu, and there is no log of what you're doing for this guy. He's still there on the map, like glowing blue, but he doesn't repeat himself. You can't engage with him again. He just stood there, and then occasionally he'll say a message of dialogue. But there's a few times I've been caught out, and I've had to like just crack on with the rest of the game because I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. It's like go kill a polar bear or something like that.
Ah, right.
So it's a bit less loose.
I don't need a specific like. He's a quest. He's the map marker. This is where you go to find this guy who's went missing or something. But the information you've got from the dialogue, just have it in my log so I can look at it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm used to, like a bullet point that says, oh, he said to give me some big, like, 10-paragraph speech about his wife and why you need to go do this. But then at least you still have that little checkbox in your menu that says, side mission, go kill 10 of these. Without that, again, I could pay more attention. I understand it's doing the game a disservice, but I like that that Ubisoft checklist of go do this, go do that, go do that.
I'm with you.
Because what if you would start a mission and then go away and come back to the game like you are, Tom, like maybe a day or two later, you forgot what that random guy said on a cliff face in Norway?
It's very true. I have to say, though, within like the first hour of my experience, though, the one thing I have to say that I really enjoyed, though. So one of the things I like that they've added this time is the minigame flighting and battling with rhyme.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. The dice game.
Also, for anybody who didn't notice, that was one right there.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a retort, but then it was like, I don't know.
Missed your opportunity.
I jumped in too quick before I even thought.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, I sat down, found that guy straight away, and I was just like, I can vibe with this. I can vibe with this.
Yeah. What about the drinking game?
Yes, I enjoyed the drinking mini game as well.
Yeah.
I do not enjoy the stupid puzzle game thing they've got though with the rolls of the dice. Like why? It gives me horrible flashbacks of playing.
It's like a strategy game, isn't it?
Yeah. It gives me horrible flashbacks to Assassin's Creed 3 and playing one of the pirate games in the kind of homestead that you play, and it took me so long to do, and just no more. Yeah,
but that's just because you decided to grind out a platinum in a game that you're not particularly overly fond of.
Well, yeah, true. That's just rod for my own back. A couple of final points I will just touch on because we'll move on from this story. Great game all around. I can't wait to play more again. Odyssey I put over 150 hours into, so this is a long-term game. I will be playing this well into the next year. Especially with the DLC that I've got coming for it as well. A couple of final points. I did feel like the controls were a little bit floaty, like in terms of I didn't feel like I had full control of Eivor, but I do feel like that comes off the back of finishing Ghost of Tsushima, which the combat is such like samurais just traditionally is so like controlled in their fighting style and everything's very dynamic and precise, whereas the Vikings more of a rage monster, just runs in and smashes shit up. So I feel like it could just be coming from a very specific game to a different...
I found I'm having the same issue that I quite often have with Assassin's Creed. Sometimes when the parkour's not snappy enough, where you'll end up, you go, I want to jump through this window, and you end up climbing the wall slightly next to it, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I found, you'll see in the first look video as well, that I'm having issues with the lock-on mechanism as well. Like, I don't seem to, because it seems to be more focused around, like, group fights with, like, the raiders and so on as well now, that you tend to try to lock on the closest target to you or, like, cycle through them. And it doesn't quite cycle through the way that I'd logically like it to do. So I'm, like, trying to focus one person who's literally trying to engage me one-on-one. And I end up targeting some bastard in the back who's, like,
Archer 10 miles
arrow. Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't need that right now.
No.
You know, I've just realised I don't even use it. I think Ghost has beaten it out of me, where that doesn't have a lock on, so you have to think about your position within the combat and move, and you have to keep an eye, use a camera to keep an eye on what's going on behind you and not get overwhelmed. I'm taking the same approach. I've just realised that's the approach I'm taking to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. But
I'm not relying on the lock-on features to basically get me out of tight situations.
It is good for boss fights, but you mentioned there, Richie, with the climbing mechanics. They've brought back the scroll chasers from Black Flag.
Yeah, they did.
Why would you do that? Like, anyone who's played Black Flag, the sea shanties, you have to chase the scroll of paper blowing in the wind across rooftops and bridges and everything. And I do think with Valhalla, they don't disappear at the end. You just have to follow them to the end of the journey, because there's a few that have almost got away from me because I've jumped off a random building the wrong direction. I've shimmied up a pole and then just stopped, froze dead, like that typical Assassin's Creed motion. And the paper has still been waiting at the end of the dock, whereas I know the sea shanties used to just disappear off into the ether and piss you off so much.
See, that's when the parkour mechanics not being as good as we'd like them to be you really notice it.
Because you have to be precise when you're climbing through, like, these those little wooden V's made up of horses you get at the top of, like, the Viking buildings. Just jumping through the middle of that, I end up, like, jumping off the entire building to the right with a 20-foot drop. It's like, no! And then the piece of paper floats off into the distance. It's so damning. So damning.
I can't wait to get back into it.
Yeah, it's again, like I said, I didn't leave Norway because I was having so much fun just exploring and enjoying and kind of getting that loot and gear. So it's definitely one for the long game. I certainly think, and no doubt we'll all be talking about it and covering it more in future. But those are our first impressions of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Very exciting stuff. Next story of the week, we have Microsoft xCloud came out this week and announced that it's going to be expanding. And the reason we wanted to touch on this story is because it's expanding into areas that Stadia is still currently not available. So we should be clear that this is the xCloud preview. So it's essentially the same beta that was rolling out in other parts of the world prior to it going live and bundled in with Game Pass. Countries that they're hitting this time around, gentlemen, is, let's rattle them off, Australia, our good friends in Oz, Brazil, Japan, and Mexico. So we're under the impression that is 4 areas that Stadia is not there at all.
Absolutely right.
So, looking at this quickly, so yeah, they've said we're excited to bring to those countries the xCloud preview program. Gamers can register beginning today, so it's available now. And the preview will begin rolling out November 18th, one day before Stadia's.
That's exactly what I was going to focus in on. I think that date is pretty key because I would not be surprised if we get a little bit more of a rollout come the 19th for Stadia.
You would hope so. So it may be worth...
bit of an expansion.
Yeah, because it just seems like a massive shot in the foot moment if we somehow... Again, xCloud was in preview before Stadia. They've now launched live officially. It seems to have gone a bit quiet on the xCloud front. I don't know whether just obviously the marketing is shifted towards the launch of the new console, rightly so.
Yeah, that'll be...
But it does feel like it's a bit quiet on the xCloud front. But in terms of them now rolling out preview in countries that Stadia isn't at, now... This is still beta, but remember, Stadia is now nearly a year old. So at what point does it become unacceptable for a brand new piece of tech not to be available in markets that are quite well developed, like Japan especially? Like, they have an internet structure capable of Stadia, but probably more so than the UK do, yet they have to wait. So
you see people in like the Facebook chats all the time from like Brazil and like the Middle East and Mexico and places. asking the question, when is Stadia coming to my country, or asking it for how do you get a workaround using like VPNs and stuff. So because there's clearly a market there.
Oh yeah.
Even though Stadia probably not advertising in these places yet.
It just to me seems like a potential for a missed opportunity when your competitor is now coming again. It still is a beta, but the fact that they'll be spoke about, they'll be in like Japanese news articles and Australian gaming news articles saying like, "Oh, try this out. It's available now." And the way Xbox dish out them Game Pass codes for free 3 months for subscription, it's going to get people in the door. And I just want to see some movement on Stadia's front. I think from this
Definitely,
point.
definitely.
So hopefully we'll be hearing about that shortly soon as well. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of markets out there that have very untapped potential. I know we spoke a few times on the show about India as well being one of them, and just kind of Oceania in general. There's a huge market. We mentioned pre-show, we don't think it'll come to China anytime soon just because of Google's relationship with the Chinese government. But
there's the question of infrastructure in some countries, maybe like somewhere like in India. I don't know what the internet speeds are like there, but I'd imagine in big rural parts of the country, the internet speeds aren't sufficient to run Stadia. Yeah. However, Japan.
Japan and the Far East, I think, is very much like it should be on that list by now.
Australia, Brazil, Mexico, these,
I mean, we know that there's, you know, the Japanese studio for Google for Stadia Games and Entertainment as well. That's in the works as well. So I mean, it's got to be something that down the line we'd probably see at some point too. But I mean, when I try to think about things like Japanese allegiance to consoles and gaming in particular, it's very much a different kettle of fish compared to over on this side of the planet as well. So it'll be quite interesting to see how they adapt to cloud gaming in general, and see is the market as big for them over there.
I know Xbox has never really done anywhere near the sort of numbers in Japan as in like in Europe and in America. But I think Stadia is a slightly different proposition, with it being cloud gaming, and Sony's cloud gaming offering is pretty basic at best, really. So there is opportunity where if the Xboxes aren't selling, Google have an opportunity to go, well, we're cloud gaming, we're not Xbox.
Yeah, I do think you're totally right there in saying like Japan, their allegiance to Sony and Nintendo, rightly so. It's these are massive behemoths in the gaming world, and they originate from their home country. Just like wow, that's amazing.
And it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So to get there, the biggest thing for me is Japan has always been about the portability side, like the fact that they do, like, I would say, play games on things like the subway, on the train, on the move, on the commute, in the park, more than probably any other country in the world from my perspective. It does bode the question, like, how well will cloud gaming land? If they can play this on their mobile devices on the move, I feel like they will naturally, with the amazing sales of like the Vita over there and the Nintendo DS, they do tend to gravitate towards handheld a little bit more than other continents. So interesting stuff. But yeah, how much can they crack that? Because some of the Xbox sales in Japan are just shockingly different compared to PlayStation and Nintendo.
As you're talking about the mobile stuff, I'd like to see Google do what Microsoft have done with Razer, where you can get a Razer keysheet that is branded for Xbox. I'd like to see a Google Stadia version of that.
Yeah, they should do. The Samsung specifically, there's a Samsung Game Pass one you can get as well, like a keysheet specific for like a Samsung Galaxy phone. It's like, oh man, and we still haven't even got a Stadia like merch store yet. I'm walking into my local supermarket and I'm seeing Xbox pajamas, PlayStation Christmas gear, and it's just, again, that public perception still hasn't quite got there a year down the line. Not yet. We've still got Thursday to hang on.
We do.
We'll see. Anyway, we'll see. Taking us over to our next story. That was a good one. I was proud of that one. Take-Two, the publishers behind massive titles. You may have heard of them, like Grand Theft Auto, the 2K games, and a couple of other things. Have acquired, or are in the process of acquiring, Codemasters. So it's just coming just short of $1 billion 994 million, in fact. It's
$1
expected to go ahead.
I was just thinking that. I was like...
it really is. So Strauss Zelnick, the chairman of CEO of Take-Two, came out with an acquisition and basically said, it highly complements them now. They've got renowned gaming history in the industry, making some of the most beloved and commercially successful titles. These are essentially just the champions of the racing game. We do know, in terms of Stadia, we've got Dirt 5, which is due to launch later than we would have expected. It is, I think, available now, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not coming to Stadia until early next year. But Codemasters have put out a couple of games recently. I think notably they did the Formula 1. They do the Formula 1 games as well, which you can currently pick up on Stadia.
Yeah, Grid.
Grid as well, basically anything that's not Need for Speed or Gran Turismo to do with cars, these guys focus on. And
Absolutely.
it kind of brings them, if anything, into the way, like with 2K having the all the sports franchises like PGA as well. PGA is another good one. NBA and the WWE license. They're just kind of taken over. Aside from EA, these must be the only other big players in the world of sports, really.
Yeah. I think the only standout is Pro Evo Soccer, which is that still Konami?
Yeah, it's like one of the few things they bother paying attention to. It's still not on Stadia, along with FIFA, though.
The thing is, Konami, I think if Pro Evo stopped becoming profitable, I don't think they'd try and find a way to keep it going. They just cut it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think Konami are basically trying to get out of the video game business.
Yeah, they make more money from the pachinko machines and stuff like that, don't they?
Pachinko.
But in terms of this, we've got to remember Codemasters itself. They did recently acquire the former Evolution Studios, who made MotorStorm and Drive Club for Sony. So they acquired them. They picked up Slightly Mad Studios, who made Project Cars and the embarrassingly bad Fast and the Furious Crossroads recently, to note. But basically, they just acquire anyone who makes a racing driving game. They just we'll have you guys come over. You know how to design wheels and engines and stuff like that. We'll get you involved. Big money moves off the back of, again, in the industry as a whole. Microsoft getting Bethesda, Sony bought Insomniac about this time last year, and now Take-Two, sorry, I should say, coming in and just acquiring another good chunk of studios. Do you think this will have any impact on Stadia, gents? Or should we just expect the same relationship to continue? Because let's be fair, 2K are almost on the same levels of Ubisoft in terms of showing Stadia support so far.
I'd expect everything to just continue as is. This is probably more... Yeah, we own the studio. We're going to take on more responsibility for publishing. You go do your thing. Like, why if you're Take-Two, why would you interfere with how Codemasters are making their games when they keep making excellent titles year in, year out?
Yeah.
Off the back of excellent titles, I do just want to draw attention to this little title here. So I'm a massive fan of the OG game Micro Machines V3 Racing or Rally, I think it's called.
Sega Mega Drive.
Sega Mega Drive. I had the best memories on my PlayStation 1 with my brother playing on like the little miniature playground, so like the tabletop in your kitchen, and you spin through like spilt milk. Or you fire
Cheerios.
you fire like peas from a cannon, and it was all like top-down perspective, and it was so fun, and it was arcade. I had so many laughs with like my brother as well. It was one of those like fun memories. So Codemasters brought this back, which is Micro Machines World Series. 2 years ago, I think.
I know where you're going with this.
What an utter disappointment, Codemasters. If you think this shit is acceptable in today's world, it was I kid you not, Tom or Richie, if you've not had a chance to look at this game, it's an embarrassment to the legacy that was V3, because no co-op. It does not come.
He's a man. He's a man who's seen rage.
I remember you buying this because you're like, oh, that looks awesome. We'll buy it and we'll have like a vintage games night. It's a bit of a throwback. We'll have some beers, and I remember how furious you were when you didn't have co-op.
No co-op. Microtransaction style things every other level. So you have like a point system where you start off at level 1, and every race you do gets you points to unlock the next vehicle and stuff. And it was just like, come on, guys! Like it's a shadow of its former self. And if this Take-Two money is going to pump some money into Codemasters, I want a true reimagining of this, because Micro
I feel like we
World
need to.
Series.
We need to dedicate a post-show episode, not one of the next ones, but a future post-show episode, to talking about vintage games that we absolutely cherish, because I've just thought of a brilliant one that I want to talk about with you guys.
That's a good idea. Ones that
Yeah.
should make a comeback or styles of games.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry to hear that though, Chris. Codemasters, get your shit together.
Yeah, I mean, they make so many good games.
They do, absolutely.
It's just a shame that this one was clearly it was more of a play on nostalgia, I think. It wasn't badly priced, it was only like 25 quid.
Good question.
Publisher.
Because it might not be. We're blaming Codemasters at the moment. It might not have been their decision. That it might have been. Well, the lack of co-op is clearly that's on the developer. Really,
it's just Codemasters and Hasbro. Who did Ubisoft not acquire all the Hasbro licenses? That's why we've got all the games.
Well,
yes.
Either way, let's not get into it. Let's. It's not. It's not on Stadia. It's a terrible game. Go if you want to play Micro Machines. Go get the old PlayStation 1 out and play on that. Anyway, moving on from that massive acquisition, $1 million. Imagine if that much energy was put into Micro Machines. 1 million. What did I say?
Billion.
You said $1 million.
Well, I'm just
$1 million isn't that much.
I'm just like Doctor Evil. I'm just like Doctor Evil again, getting his millions right.
$1 million.
Next up, on the cusp of us reaching Stadia's 1 year anniversary, bit of sad news, gentlemen. Bit of sad news. Destiny 2 is leaving Stadia Pro. It's been the launch day staple for nearly 365 days now, and unfortunately, we heard this week that the free-to-claim complete package will be leaving. It seems like something I never expected to happen, and yet the day has arrived.
Well, it's quite a weird one because on other platforms, Destiny is free to play.
Yeah,
you have to buy the expansions and stuff, but it's free to play, and so it was quite weird Destiny 2 being locked behind Stadia Pro anyway.
Yeah, it's also currently included as part of Xbox Game Pass as well with the new DLC, like with the new expansion Beyond Light, which has just released just a few days ago. It's getting great reviews. So it's been out for a year now on Stadia. You know, we got the season passes all the way up to the new expansion. Yes, we can now get the new expansion with a season pass as well on Stadia, but you are right, it is a bit of a sad day. I will, however, throw this out and say that a lot of people are reporting that it still plays better on Stadia than it does on other platforms, including the Series X. So you heard it here first. You still get
much better.
Yeah, in terms of quality of gameplay, frames per second, and so on, it's performing better on Stadia currently than next gen right now.
Wow,
awesome.
Whether it'll be optimized or not, I can't say. But at the moment, as we are recording, it's good. It's good on Stadia.
Good. Destiny just sets the benchmark, doesn't it, really, for these type of games?
Yeah.
If it leaving Stadia Pro, I think it's one of them. I think this is quite controversial because if it's leaving Stadia Pro and you have to pay for the game on Stadia but nowhere else, even if it is performing better on Stadia, I'm not buying that game if I can get it for free on console over consoles I already have.
Yeah, I get you.
But if they re-put this in and go, okay, the base game is available on the store for free and here's the expansions you can buy, that's a different proposition.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just have to wait and see what happens when it does leave Stadia Pro.
We don't know what the plans are. My assumption, because based on the information we have, is that it will be paid. We'll have to buy the game as if you're a non-pro member now.
Interesting stuff. But yeah, you did mention Beyond Lights Out, and it just seems Lights Out, Beyond Lights Out, Beyond Lights is out. But yeah, it's definitely the benchmark, I think, for these type of games, and I think any game that's came and even gone as well, like look at like the games like Anthem, who tried to replicate that kind of like gaming loop, and we've seen it with Avengers, still trying to find their feet with what is the right gameplay loop to keep you coming back for this repeat grind of levels, because that's like a lot of Destiny that I played was very much the moon level. It felt like over and over again, and then it's got its claws on a lot of people, and it does amazing things, and these expansions they bring out just add that extra layer, that return customer base, and they've got it nailed down. It's wonderful to see. So that probably poses my next question. I think it'll probably be our next topic to get into, gentlemen, is the biggest topic of the week probably is going to be Stadia themselves coming up on their 1 year anniversary. We don't want to big it up too much, but with things like, you mentioned it there, Tom, Destiny leaving, as part of the 1 year birthday celebration anniversary, what do we all expect to see on Thursday? I don't want to get our hopes up too much. We got probably spoiled not spoiled. We probably got unspoiled from the good stuff event that ran, which was, in my opinion, just shouldn't have been what it ended up being. It's just been a one-off thing. But that's a conversation that we've already had. So I'll throw it over to you, Tom. Then, if Destiny is in fact leaving, do you expect to see something, and what would you like to see in its place?
Destiny free.
You're on mute, Thomas, I think.
Yeah, I am on mute. Okay, so you can't drop that on me there because I was just whining when you were talking about that. So, what do I expect to see? I expect to see, I'm not going to set the bar too high. I expect to see a bunch of indie announcements, some of the titles that we've seen recently. More importantly, I probably expect to see the same sort of titles that we're seeing on Amazon Luna actually being announced for Stadia. I think if a game appears on Luna or is announced for Luna, we're probably expecting to see it imminently on Stadia. A lot of the games that are being announced for the Amazon service have already been PEGI rated or ESRB rated for Stadia as well. So it's sort of like following a trend there. So that's one to watch for. I am very much expecting that Ubisoft Plus announcement to come out day and date on the 19th, though. I think it would be a missed opportunity if not.
So, yeah, I guess in regards to the games that are coming... Are we expecting 120 games by the end of the year is what we were told?
Yes.
And we're on about 100 now, so time's a ticking.
We've exceeded 100.
Exceeded 100.
We've exceeded.
There's still that little gap to close up before December 31st if they are to stay true to their promise. Richie, you expecting to see anything big from Thursday? And if so, anything you'd like to throw into the mix?
I don't want to expect anything big, to be honest, because... every time we expect something big on Stadia, we'll walk out slightly disappointed.
Mass Effect Legendary Edition remaster.
No.
What I would like to see
announcement.
I'd like to see like kind of an acknowledgement of the first year, like kind of some of what the first year has kind of been about. Maybe touch on some stuff that's what they're working on in the future. Maybe not into next year, but in the distant future, stuff like what their new development studios have been up to. That sort of stuff. We know we're probably a couple years out from them actually producing a title, but we've got these reminding people that these studios do exist. They are working on stuff. That sort of thing. Things like we've talked a while. Things like tweaks to the UI kind of give that a refresh going into the next year. Something to do with the Chromecasts.
It's an interesting one because I think there's so many points we kind of want them to talk about, but then it goes back to the age-old argument, like, is this the right time and place? Like, what stuff is merited for maybe just a blog post or an update?
Yeah.
And what merits a birthday celebration? Because, Richie, you've been flirting with Stadia over on Twitter.
Yeah.
And your birthday is 2 days before Stadia's, if I recall.
Yes. If you're listening to this when it launches on Monday, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Yay, happy birthday for tomorrow.
We'll wait on Twitter for the happy birthdays.
Wait patiently.
Yeah. But no, I jokingly tweeted at Google saying, "Oh, it's my birthday. Should we do a joint celebration?" And they've agreed to provide the cake as long as I provide the decorations. So Google, if you're listening, I will buy the decorations, but I'll DM me. I'll give you my address so you can send me some cake.
Send you some cake. I'd like them to bring the games because does this kind of as we encroach on the end of November and the end of the year, are we safe to say that there's a Kinect still coming, or is this just kind of like because they've been very quiet since the last one?
I don't know. The good stuff kind of being considered almost like a Kinect. It's the same sort of style of thing, only just 3 smaller ones.
Yeah, but then with the birthday celebrations, again, I hope it is a celebration of the first year, and it would be great to highlight some of the positive things, whether it's people in the community, games that they've launched, the success, maybe even show off some figures. Like, I'd like to see some stats on actually how well Stadia's performed, but whether that's the right time and place,
sort of stuff.
Or we have to wait until, I don't know, like an earnings call, a financial report for the first year, like something like that. Yeah, I'm not overly getting my hopes up. I'm just looking for it to be a celebration. At the end of the day, the birthday is on the launch of the PS5 in the UK, so there's going to be a lot of gaming, marketing, distractions and articles focused elsewhere.
Yes.
So maybe this isn't the right time to do it, but I think a nice little video with maybe 1 or 2 things. I'd love to see, you said there, Tom, some of the Amazon stuff. Give me Control, give me Sonic Mania, get some of those more interesting titles that it would appear that the cloud version of these games could be ported across a little bit quicker.
I'd go the other way, to be honest to you, Chris. Instead of shrinking back and going, "Oh, PlayStation are releasing the console on this day, let's back off a bit." No, come out swing. Make the IGNs and the GameSpots of the world pay attention to Stadia. Give them something.
Just like the Good Stuff event.
Definitely give us something.
Yeah, higher tier than
Certainly.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
But
You're in amongst the mix with these console launches. Like, don't forget about us. We're here.
Yeah, we are part of next gen. Yeah, that would be great to see. In terms of the 1 year birthday, we will be covering it in some capacity on our channel. Thankfully, it does land on a Thursday when we always do our Thursday community stream. So my guess is we hear something in this Tuesday's blog along the lines of like, oh, it's the birthday in 2 days. This is what we're doing. Whether it is a video drop or, I mean, they've got to tell us soon, right? It's 4 days from the time of recording.
This is something I think they need to be better at doing, just giving us a bit more lead up to it so we know when to expect stuff.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a 24-hour live stream from Mr. Phil Harrison.
Specifically.
Just gaming all the way to it. 24 hours, raising money for charity, just Phil Harrison playing games. Chatting shit.
Do we get the pro games for December announced?
I think that's too soon.
Too soon?
I think it's too soon.
Maybe if the new games that are like part of whatever celebration event they are getting announced there, they might go, oh, this will be Stadia Pro, because we've seen that with other events when they give us an early announcement because the game they're announcing is already bookmarked for Pro.
Yeah, I could see it from that perspective. I just don't want them to change the narrative too much. I want them to sort of stick to their guns, because if they keep trying to mix up the narrative a little bit, we'll get back to that stage of like miscommunication and so on that we had back at the start of this year, back end of last year. We could do without that really at this point.
You don't want to regress after a year.
No, but like Richie said before, I think we definitely need to be sort of like seeing things that are going to make the name stick and make the name sort of like be pronounced amongst the, the massive news that's going to be going on. Yeah. As you said rightfully, because of next gen launch.
Yeah, they need to be part of that next gen
conversation. They need to be relevant. Yeah, it needs to be relevant.
And thankfully, the games we're getting, they lean in that conversation. Valhalla, Cyberpunk, like you can play them on Stadia right now, as opposed to, well, not as opposed, and also everywhere else. So they're available on Stadia. So there's nothing.
They do, but there are performance issues that are not Stadia's fault. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
30 frames, something like that.
We'll talk about it in a bit.
So another one I want to just throw out there. Do we see Outcasters?
That's the one I was thinking of expecting to see.
Exclusive. It's their anniversary. It's supposed to come out in the fall. We've seen the Twitter page tease for months now. Different maps, games, levels, battle mode. There's not really much more they can. There's not much more they can tease at this point, right? Other than the release. So, looking at you, Outcasters. Let's see you on Stadia soon, hopefully.
I hope that comes out of the Pro game, because I think that would be an awesome move at this point.
I feel like I have a sneaking suspicion it might do, again, because it's going to be, the first sort of like first party-esque title.
Yeah.
I feel like we might see those first party titles as just included as part of the service.
I think it would be a really smart move for them to just follow the Game Pass model. We've got Guilt as Pro. We got Orcs Must Die as Pro. These are all Stadia like first exclusives. This is the first like true exclusive in somewhere. It would make sense, just like Xbox, if they can give away Halo and Gears of War day and date with Forza and other things, we can get Outcasters, right? As a paying subscriber. That seems fair. So
I agree.
We might learn on Thursday. But like I said, keep it tuned to the channel, because we'll no doubt be talking about it or covering it in some way, shape or form. Follow us on Twitter so you're kept in the loop of when we do go live with that. But fingers crossed for some exciting stuff. It has been a long year. It's been a tough year for reasons aside from gaming. Let's wrap this thing up, Stadia, with a wonderful celebration of how great you have been over the last year and the wonderful community and the people that make up this world of gaming. Speaking of good things as well, one of the final stories of the week, everybody's gone crazy for these premiere editions, gentlemen. Stadia came out with a lovely promotion for anyone who is a YouTube premium subscriber, of which I am no longer. I was for 6 months and then I'm no longer. Every man and his dog clambered to get these premiere editions. So much so, our wonderful patron Lee writes in as well. Stadia Dad 77 if you want to give him a follow over on there or play games with him. So he's wrote on our Patreon page, which you can as well, patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, and asks, so Google have apparently sold out of the Premier Editions. I think that's America only at the moment. It might be more countries.
No. UK as well.
UK got
is
out
as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What will the potential new customers do now until the Chromecast supports Stadia? Yes, they can use the browser, tablet, or phone, but what about people who want a game on their TV? And this kind of folds in with the birthday celebrations and what I mentioned to you guys after our stream on Thursday.
Yep.
Does all of these Premier Editions being out of stock kind of give any validation to there being a new Stadia package coming out imminently? Because I think it does.
Yeah, I kind of agree. First of all, actually, Lee wrote in on our Discord server, which you can join.
We're trying to promote the Patreon, though, Richie.
Yes, yeah, we're trying to promote the Discord as well. Yeah, well, I think when the Sabrina Chromecast first came out, the one that Tom still doesn't have.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. When that came out and we saw like the Chromecast Ultra get removed from like Google's website, so the only way you could get it is with the Premier Edition, I kind of theorized at that moment that what they're doing is they're going to use Stadia to get rid of the surplus stock as they launch a new generation of Chromecasts. So I think the current one, their Chromecast with Google TV, is probably going to be the lower end of it, and probably next year you'd see the Pro version, the Ultra.
So like the next Ultra is what you're trying to say.
Next Ultra, which might even go up to like something like 6 or 8K compatibility,
Right.
because the current one goes 4K.
Okay.
And we know Stadia is coming to it at some point, probably early next year.
Yeah.
So I do think this is them, Google, giving it out for free to people who have YouTube Premium as a way of getting people on board into the platform. And it also clears off their stock so they can replace it with the next generation.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on the fact that they were using the Stadia promotion, the YouTube Premium promotion, to get rid of the existing stock, because we know already that the current Chromecast Ultra is being discontinued. Like, we've seen stores just like slashing the prices, getting rid of them. They're in the bargain bins and so on. So it makes sense that this promo does tie in with that, but I don't know. I think it's still too early days to see a new package being announced, because we have been told so far that we're not getting the Stadia app on the Sabrina, the Chromecast with Google TV, until early 2021. So there's nothing that they can actually release now as a filler, unless early 2021 is like very early
January
2021.
1st.
Yeah, like unless it's that.
That's the weird thing about this. It's actually the timing of it. It looks like you're getting rid of your surplus stock in November, just before Christmas. We've got things like Black Friday coming up. There's Christmas and things like the January sales. You think
with nothing to replace it.
Yeah.
There is nothing to replace it currently.
For me, this is a February move, not a November one.
It's kind of telling. Like when they say sold out, you would like to think it just relates to their allocation of their giveaway stock, which could be a couple hundred for all we know. But then again, we've seen people in the community who've picked up, like using the family share, they've picked up like 3 or 4 controllers because the premium subscription applies to everybody in the family. So if you were quick enough and smart enough, you could have picked up several controllers for free. And these are worth £90 a pop. If you go on, sorry Tom, your Facebook right now and go to Facebook Marketplace, is that what you're going to refer to?
Yeah, I was literally loading Facebook up on my phone to show you.
And search for Stadia controller. They are like selling like wildfire. Well, they might not be selling, I should say. They are available en masse. Yeah. Anyone local to you, I've got a free. Sell them for £50, £60, £100. These scalper bitches be crazy. It's all over the place. But now that's sold out. Yeah, like what? If you go on Stadia's website, you can still buy a Premier Edition for $89.99. Albeit you could have just got several for free if you had a premium subscription.
But what we know about Google is not really good at product launches, not really good at getting the stuff to you. Which is actually why I alluded to Tom not getting his Sabrina. Like, I got mine very, very quickly. Like,
I ordered mine 5 days after Richie, and I'm still waiting.
Was it like a month ago that I got mine? We did a push on it.
It was so long ago.
After,
you were still calling it Sabrina.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
only
will-
using the word free there because it rolls off the tongue, but the Chromecast with Google TV.
Yeah,
And
I've
it's-
just started referring to it as Google TV now, not even Chromecast.
Yeah.
I will say that this was a brilliant move by the YouTube/Stadia team at staying relevant and getting conversation flowing. Because if you just take to Twitter now, take to social, and look, the amount of people who are now tweeting and messaging and saying like, "Just got my Premier Edition, finally tried I've decided, do you know what? I got it for free. I'll give Stadia a go." And actually, bloody hell, it's actually good.
Well,
So
think
it's a
about it.
brilliant move.
If you've got YouTube Premium, you're paying for that anyway, and then you get an email through saying, "Oh, you can get a free Stadia Premier Edition." It's like you might not even be interested in Stadia. You might just be interested in the Chromecast.
Yeah.
You plug it in. Like, well, I have it. I'll give it a go.
Right, I'm not going to go as far as saying it's the equivalent of next gen because I'll talk about some specs in just a second, based on another viewer question. But it's literally the akin of saying like, oh, you've got a subscription to a service. Here's a free PlayStation 4 or here's a free Xbox One. Do you know, it's that sort of equivalent. You're not going to turn your nose up at that. You've got a free service right here with included free month of Pro as part of like signing up. And then you've got access to games immediately. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about with it at the moment is with a lot of people getting their hands on it and with the new Chromecast with Google TV. Just a quick shout out as well to Regos Nas on Twitter, who wrote into us to say, "I'd like to know your opinion about Sabrina, the Chromecast with Google TV. It only runs at 60 hertz, whereas the PS5 and Xbox Series X run at 120 hertz. So the newest edition of this Chromecast, unless we do get an ultra version of it, as Richie said before, we are only basically limiting ourselves to the ability to be able to view games in 60 frames per second, whereas PS5 and Xbox Series X can run up to 120. Am I concerned about that? Yes and no. I think 60 frames per second should be a standard in video gaming now, currently. I think 30 needs to die. I think 30 needs to die. It's not good by standard anymore. It's like going back and when you rewatch old films on 4:3 rather than 16:9 widescreen. Yeah. That needs to die off now. But does limiting it to just 60 frames per second become an issue in the future? Not necessarily, because I don't really see 120 frames per second and 120 hertz being the standard
My
at the moment.
My issue with it limited to 60 hertz means that is the absolute best you're going to get.
I agree.
Which means you're more likely to be getting 50, 55 rather than that straight up 60, which could have could be slightly little problematic.
That's a fair point, actually, because we do need to understand
60 frames per second. We're talking an average.
Yeah.
And sometimes to go up and sometimes to go down. But
I was rereading some of the interviews, particularly with the guys who developed Monster Boy, Chris's favorite, for Stadia as well. And we know that they even said in an interview that they could get it running on Stadia's server end at 120 frames per second. It was capable of doing that in 4K on Stadia's end. So my question really would be like, why don't we have the hardware tech as to get that across in 120 frames per second? Granted, we're really probably not going to see the full gist of it, but I wonder whether it has to actually be rendered at 120 frames on Google's end, and then when it's streamed, I believe there's been some talk before, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about this, that it actually, it has to be sorry, I'll try and get this right. It has to be actually playing on the server end at 120 for it to be rendered locally at 60 to allow for frames to be dropped just because of the transmission and latency. So I wonder whether that might have something to do with it. But still, like you said, Richie, I would have preferred a higher end ability, especially against next gen.
Even if it like capped at 80 hertz or something, then it gives you that headroom. Because then you could still render the game out at an average frames per second of 60, and you wouldn't be getting hard locked there. You could software lock it rather than hardware lock it. But
well, maybe we will get an Ultra with 8K.
This is literally why I'm convinced there will be an Ultra, not just for resolution, but because of frame rate.
But do you think now we're at a point where we perhaps have to start seeing talk of how we compete with next gen? Because current gen, yeah,
I believe they do, and I could honestly see a future where we get potentially new controller options as well, like a Stadia Pro, funnily enough, like a Stadia Pro controller to go with like your subscription or something. That does have like a different variation to it. So that's gonna, because again, I've seen online, I'm yet to have a real hands-on chance with the DualSense, but that's apparently blowing people's minds, reviewers and everything, in comparison to your traditional controllers. You take that DualSense, like how is that applied to next-gen discussion? And yeah, if Stadia kind of came with a repackage of a controller, maybe a repackage of a Chromecast Ultra, but not with TV, but with Stadia, so Chromecast with Stadia, and that's specific for gaming, and that goes up to 120 or the best it's capable of.
Yeah.
And then repackage that in a new Premier Edition bundle, because let's face it, these boxes are over a year old now, and people who are looking to get into this alongside PS5 and Xbox, it's technology. It needs to keep, like the Chromecast Ultra is like 6-year-old at this point. You need to be pushing, and Google are a company that knows better than most. Technology does not stop for anybody, so you need that fresh new thing. And the fact that they're emptying in their warehouses and giving anybody, like, it's a £90 bit of kit that they're just dishing out like it's Christmas sweets.
It's £90 now. Next year, it's basically redundant technology.
Exactly.
If they don't get it in people's hands.
So what a way to celebrate a 1-year anniversary than with a big blowout of new tech. Google like doing it every year. They held back from the Made by Google event, but either way,
if I'm right, and the Sabrina is the lower tier of the Chromecast range, then that's actually priced cheaper. It's actually better than the Ultra, but it's also priced cheaper than it. So that basically makes the Ultra completely redundant, apart from the fact that the Ultra currently plays Stadia and has the Ethernet jack. But you can buy that.
Exactly. So interesting stuff. I'm sure we'll see some movement. Let's face it, they're not going to go quiet for too long, because it just draws negative attention. Final couple of points then. What probably doesn't need 120 hertz per second is a couple of the new games that dropped this week on Stadia. We got Just Dance 2021. We also got Tom, one of your favourite games. Our survey says it's your favourite games anyway. Family Feud, also in the UK, known as Family Fortunes. We got a Ubisoft drop of that this week. It looks so bad graphically in terms of like.
It's just another fun party game. It's something I'll sit down with my family on Christmas Day and play. That's the kind of thing I do with them.
I haven't even looked at it, to be honest.
Does the do we feel disheartened that the UK version of the game is not called Family Fortunes?
Yeah, but it's also a very generic host and things like that. It's not modelled after any sort of famous, iconic Steve Harvey type person or.
Who did ours? Was it Les Dennis?
It was Les Dennis, wasn't it? Our survey says.
Wow, there's a throwback there. There's a throwback. So Family Feud available now if you want to get hands on it, and also out of the blue, out of the cornfields, in fact, Farming Simulator 19 Premium Edition. So to go with your brand new Premier Edition controller that you may have picked up for free, and you may be jumping into Stadia for the first time thinking, what games do I need to drop my money on? None other than the wonderful Farming Simulator 19 with all the DLC bundled in and packaged.
You can expect an Alpine stream.
Wow.
That's a throwback to one of our very first streams, that wasn't it? Wow.
It was literally the first thing we ever played on Stadia together.
Sim.
Was Farming Sim. We decided on the first ever live stream that we went for 9 hours on, we decided to just kick off with Farming Simulator because it was one of the pro games.
Why not?
There's a bit of nostalgia for you.
Why not? So yeah, all the DLC, all those fancy tractors.
You can watch it. It's on the channel.
You can look at our first look and see how bad we are. But yeah, it looks like a wealth of farming simulation coming to Stadia. If you haven't already got it or picked up as pro, it's it. We do know they're not doing a 2020 edition, so this kind of does kind of fill that. This would probably be the traditional launch window for their next iteration for 2021. Yeah. So because we're not seeing that, I suppose it kind of fills that void. If you're a big fan of this series and you've not picked it up yet, what are you doing? Get on it. It's available November 12th now.
I think it makes more sense to just keep adding to expanding on the game, because I don't really know what improvements would you get. You're basically rebuilding the same game with different maps, effectively.
Yeah. I mean, I asked that question about every one of these Goat Simulator and stuff. It's how do they exist? But there's definitely a market for it. A few final points of the week then before we do wrap up. We got a couple of new exciting features on Stadia. We've been waiting nearly a year, but we finally got messaging rolling out on the app. I'm yet to see it yet. Am I doing something
Yeah,
wrong?
it's not actually enabled. No, it's not enabled for the English language yet. So it's rolling out by language. And the reason for that is because they obviously want to make sure that we're not getting like random people in Italy messaging people in England and we can't translate it and so on. However, very interesting point I'll just add there. If you are using Stadia in your browser, particularly Chrome browser, and you do receive a message from somebody in a different country, Chrome can automatically translate it, which is pretty awesome. Yeah,
And this is kind of what the sort of stuff we talked about before. Like Stadia could utilize all the technology that Google has under its belt to improve the service. We were talking more about things like machine learning, but Google Translate, let's incorporate it. We have the technology. Let's do it.
We have technology.
It is rolling out at the moment, so I believe that we should be expecting to see it. But I know that our friend Gem Stadia again linked on Twitter. You can access the Stadia homepage in Italian, which gives you access to the messaging early. I have already sent Chris a message. He just cannot see it yet.
Oh. Just
so
like,
when
just
it does
like
roll out,
Google is sending you a Chromecast, but you can't see it yet.
I guess so. There is a message waiting for him. He's just got to wait to actually see it.
I'll just ignore it. Delete. Get rid. And the final point we're now capable of doing is sharing our clips and captures. So we've been able to capture footage, 30 seconds worth, static images of Stadia for quite some time now, but we haven't necessarily been able to share them other than to take a screenshot of a screenshot within your mobile device. Now we can share the link, and I've seen loads of people having loads of fun sharing their clips, especially of games that look as stunning as Valhalla. Get them out there. Show off the wonders of Norway.
I will say, actually, once again, credit given where it's due right there. I defeated a boss on Sekiro earlier today and filmed the last 30 seconds of it. I could immediately, even while the video is processing, I could just tap it, share it, send it in a WhatsApp group, and the link is immediately accessible in like a 480p resolution. The higher quality does take a little bit longer, but the immediate video that's recorded is a much lower resolution, and it's available straight away. So kudos right there.
Straight from the server's mouth.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. But that does bring us to an end of our special Stadia stories. I can't do it like you can, Tom. I haven't said it every week for the last 60 weeks. So
Stadia story segment.
Yeah, that was the news. But that does bring us to an end for episode 60 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Keeps you in the loop, more importantly, with very, very important upcoming things, such as the Stadia Super Saturday / Sunday event we're taking part in next week. It'll also keep you in the loop with our stream on Thursday celebrating Stadia's first anniversary, where hopefully we're going to see some big and exciting things. But more so, if you do want to write into the show us a bit more support, help Richie buy his little Christmas tree. That's going to decorate his walls for many, many weeks to come. Don't forget you can head over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia for as little as $1.79, give or take whatever the taxes in your relevant country, to show us a bit more support and help us grow like many of you do, many of you wonderful people, just like all the wonderful people over in our Patreon page and also our Discord channel now, because we're all in there chatting away, popping off, talking non-stop. It does not end the conversation over there. But other than that, thank you very much for watching episode 60. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a great week in gaming. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the birthday celebrations. Goodbye.
Bye.